Hibs humped maybe Hibs humped, thumped, pumped and dumped down the table. How you doing, folks? What you hear is not a test. This is your Gersnet immediate post-match reaction pod, coming to you in association with Forest Precision Engineering. My name's Alec Anderson. No, I'm not the guy from Rate My Takeaway. I'm the guy who ate my takeaway and yours and your mum's. But I think the taste and the aroma that most Rangers fans are enjoying tonight is a big, juicy, batter-encrusted 3 points from Easter Road. I love 3 pickled onions on the side there. Can of Coke, please, hen. I hope yourself, but Coke, no, Iron Brew for you. Pepsi, absolutely fine. Yeah, I will pay by card. Is that Mars bars behind you in the counter there? I'll have a king size, please. But the main thing is I love salt and vinegar on mine. I don't put that horrible, rank, watery, disgusting brown vinegar down sauce anywhere the hell near my supper. And do you know what? I've just realised that Frankie, who runs and owns Gersnet, who spent 20 years building it up into the multimedia empire that it is right now, he is from the East Coast and probably loves salt and sauce on his supper. In fact, I think about 75% of the boys who've been at Gersnet for years longer than I came in to make my miserable wee contribution, which I was honoured to do. I think they're kind of East Coast, maybe Central Belt, a lot of them, and they probably enjoy a bit of sauce with their salt on their supper. But it's unoriginal patter, I know. I mean, I was going to do that whole thing about what's the best thing about Edinburgh. It's the last train to Queen Street, because it's unoriginal stuff that's happening tonight in the SPFL Premiership, Wednesday the 24th of January 2024. Hibs 0, Rangers 3 last March, Easter Road in the SPFL Premiership. Hibs 1, Rangers 4 towards the end of last season in the SPFL Premiership. Hibs 1, Rangers 3. Throw in that 4-0 we beat them at Ibrox in Philippe Clement's first game as manager. And is that us get revenge for the 2016 Scottish Cup final? Is that it? I don't think so. I think that's only going to happen when we beat them at Hampden, something we've only managed once in the last 60 or 70 years, and that took 2 replays of 1979 Scottish Cup final. But I did enjoy it when, in I think the early days of Steven Gerrard, we beat them 6-1 at Ibrox in the league, and it was like we'd taken the 2016 and taken the 1 and the 6 and turned it around and shoved it right up there. Jack sees Hibs at Easter Road, potential banana skin, very much so. Always will remain that for Rangers. But right now, the banana skinnage is very potential. Since we come back into top flight, we haven't lost at Easter Road, and that was easy tonight. That was 3 and easy. 3 going on 5 or 6. Hibs very rarely threatened us, and we dealt with that magnificently. And the abundance of belief we're getting under this new manager, as well as the professionalism, the focus, it looks like the fitness is improving again, the tactics, it's tremendous. And I'm almost glad, I'm glad that we lost at Parkhead and we drew at Pittodrie and with that abysmal 1-each draw at home with Aris Limassol, or else I've got the bends. It would have been too much for us to cope with. We needed some wee setbacks along the way just to keep our feet on the ground, because it's just been too much under Philippe Clement, this rate of improvement. That was his 20th competitive game in charge of Rangers tonight. 13 of them in the league, 4 in Europe, and he finished top of his group. We very rarely finish top of our UEFA group in whatever competition we're in, and we had never previously won a match against Spanish opposition in Spain in European competition. 2 League Cup matches for Clement. He won the League Cup. First time we've won that thing in over a decade, and his Scottish Cup run is off to a flyer with that 4-1 win against Dumbarton at the Rock on Saturday. Those 13 league games, though, tonight he's put us back to within 5 points and 5 goals of Celtic with a game in hand. Not to put too fine a point on it, I think they'll have slightly shot themselves tonight. Wee bit of cloth getting touched along Parkhead way. They will definitely need to buy somebody else now. They've got players coming in. I think they've got somebody going to Atletico Madrid, mind you, but they're going to have more players coming in. But I think they'll have added another one onto that, because they're probably sitting back tonight thinking this is the hardest of their 2 games in hand. If they slip up here before we even started our campaign again, it's what Rangers have done so often since we come back into the top flight. When we're offered a chance, we tend to throw it away. We tend to shit the bed ourselves. So we very much haven't done that tonight. And I think it really puts the pressure back on Celtic straight away. We're not going away. We're right on their back wheel again. Usually we go away to, since we come back to the top flight, as I say, what is it? Been to Orlando, been to Dubai. This time it was Spain. We go away for the warm weather winter training camp, and a couple of those times we've gone in there having just beaten Celtic in the festive Old Firm game. we're the front runners for the title. When we come back, we've a really watery performance against lower league opposition in the Scottish Cup. Remember we beat, was it Fraserburgh 3-0 up at Fraserburgh? We beat Cowdenbeath just 3-1 at Central Park. I think it was at Stranraer at Ibrox, was that 2-0 or 3-1? I was at the game, but it wasn't very convincing anyway. And that then bleeds into our return to league action after the SPFL Premiership winter shutdown. And we'll be dropping, for example, 2 points against Aberdeen at Pittodrie after having been 2 goals up, or we'll be losing a deep into injury time equaliser against Ross County in Dingwall, and then we'll go on towards an Old Firm defeat almost inevitably, and we throw it all away. So while that was a really physically watery game at the Rock in the middle of Storm Aisha on Saturday, we dealt with it very professionally. Really good, focused, professional 4-1 win there. Were we going to be able to augment that tonight? Were we going to start slipping up in the league again as usual? Was that maybe the systemic problem with Rangers post 2012? No, not a bit of it tonight. The last winter break we're going to have announced this week, of course, that the winter break will be banned. It'll be a goner next season. Well, we'll commit it in fine style. Absolutely smashing. We're back in. I think that having 2 games in hand instead of the points on the board, especially when it's 8 points, 2 games in hand, and that's why on Saturday, when there was a threat to that game at Dumbarton, albeit against 4th tier opposition, it was just going to be too many games in hand. It was going to be too much on the back burner because there's too many big games coming up. It's going to be a really busy season, which is what we want it to be, but we're just getting to that point. With that on top of the news about Abdallah Sima being out for so long, Abdallah Sima, who scored twice against Hibs the last time we played them, who were playing St Mirren on Saturday, scored 3 goals in 2 games against St Mirren this season. It's absolutely essential to Rangers. That's before you factor in just his general all-round play, his assists, just the confidence he gives us, the stability, the professionalism, the class. We've lost that for a lot longer than we thought we're going to lose it as it looks. So it was going to be a bit, if we had dropped anything tonight, it was just, you're right in the back foot straight away again. You're putting yourself under pressure. Psychologically, it's really draining. We've got these 2 games, and it doesn't matter. I mean, if we drop points on Saturday, it's not like that's a scheduled game against St Mirren. That's not a game in hand, so it doesn't count. It's every bit as bad. It doesn't really matter where or when you drop the points. But I think psychologically, this game tonight had been moved from the 17th of December because we were playing the League Cup final, and then they've got the Ross County game to come. Ross County at Ibrox moved from between Christmas and New Year because the A9 was unplayable and Ross County couldn't get down to Ibrox. So I think at the 2 of them on paper, this was the difficult one tonight. Although if Derek Adams leaves Ross County anytime soon, I think given the fact that he seems to go into training every morning and just say, I hate you, you're all crap, I hate myself for having to manage you, why did I ever come here? I think the new manager bounce they'll get will have them playing like Real Madrid. We'll have to watch ourselves, but on paper, this was the toughest of those 2 games in hand. And also it was the first. Celtic not playing tonight. They were just sitting back, leaving the stage to us, and hoping that we would slip up and just let them off the hook again, let them start running away with the title again without even having to kick a ball. Not a bit of it. It means that even if we were to slip up on Saturday or other game in hand against Ross County, if you want to continue down that theme, with 2 Old Firm games still to play, tonight's win made sure that we're straight away with our first game back in league action. We're back into in our own hands territory. It's still in our own hands. So it's just such a vital, such an important win. A little thing. I mean, I'm going to take this too far. I always do, but I couldn't help noticing that since the 6th of December, I think it was, we played Hearts. 6th of December to now, Clement has played against. It's because we played Dumbarton on Saturday. Clement has played against all the other clubs who've been champions of Scotland on multiple occasions. There's only 11 clubs have ever been champions of Scotland. He can't play against Third Lanark because they went out of business in 1967, or they've reformed amateur-wise. He can't play against ourselves, obviously. And Dundee United, unfortunately, are in the Championship this season. Really sadly, we didn't beat them in the League Cup. And we won the League Cup, and tragically they're already out of the Scottish Cup. So we won't be playing them this season. But the other 8 teams, does that leave? We've played both Edinburgh teams, Aberdeen, Kilmarnock, Motherwell. Now they've won the league in one occasion. Dundee as well won the league in one occasion. But Dumbarton won 2 times. They're the other team to have won it in multiple occasions. Celtic, obviously. We lost at Parkhead, but it was no disgrace. That's our toughest fixture of the season, playing away to the champions, and there was extenuating circumstances. I thought he played really well overall, especially with 10 men in the last 20 minutes or so. But aye, it's like everything in Scottish football has been thrown at Philippe Clement just in this, even just this little 2-month period, and he's coped with it pretty well. We're right back in the running for the league title. I say already got the League Cup in the bag. In Europe, we're already in the last 16. We don't even have to play that qualifying round, the last 32 playoff round. It's absolutely fantastic. And even though he's still got Ross County to play, he's played home and away against Hearts in the league, as well as playing them at Hampden. He's played home and away against Dundee and Hibs now, so it's like a cycle was completed tonight, coming back to the team that he played first, and it just feels that we're so much more, so much better than we were, obviously, when Michael Beale arrived, but even since Philippe Clement has arrived. When you consider the players that we've actually lost, and it's like Nico Raskin coming back, he's starting again tonight, he's getting back to being a first team player again, who scored on Clement's managerial debut, the Belgian scoring for the Belgian manager. Just wee things like that, it just feels that we're firing on all cylinders. Now, no Connor Goldson starting the game tonight. That was we knew that before the game kicked off. Big Connor suspended, just a 9 yellow cards for him this season. The big man, he's an absolute stalwart. We were really worried about him not being there tonight. We also knew it was going to be John Souttar and Leon Balogun, because Ben Davies is injured, and Leon King's been kind of converted into a sitting midfielder. I think getting rave review or real positive talk about him by the manager and from Leon King himself this week, but he's going to be converted into a sitting midfielder by the sound of things. He wasn't going to go in at centre half tonight, so we knew who was going to be coming in at centre half. Borna Barisic still on the bench. Ridvan, he's now starting at left back. Tav right back tonight. Sitting two, and I say Nico Raskin's back in there after kind of rehabilitating himself, or finishing off his rehabilitation. It looked like in that kind of winter break there, although he's still come off at half time tonight, but we're taking it easy with him. I hope. I haven't heard any injury news, if there is any. I haven't heard the manager's post-match presser, so forgive me if there's bad news as usual coming out of that. I'm just going to try and enjoy this result before we get into all that stuff. And then it was the big thing was up front, the four, if you like. We've got the three and the one. And Frankie, the boss of Gersnet, I'll make up to him, but for slagging off his favourite kind of supper by saying our favourite condiment with supper, by pointing out that he got it right in his team prediction on the Gersnet Twitter page. I was Silva playing up front, and you've got Rabbit Matondo on the left, Ross McCausland on the right hand side, and Todd Cantwell sitting in at 10 behind Silva. And I had just wondered, I thought to me, is Abdallah Sima like Trail in Heat? Yeah, I'm going to talk about Heat again, 1995, LA crime saga, Michael Mann director, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro the first time together in a film, although Godfather 2. Anyway, you've heard that all before if you've seen any of my pods. If you've been unfortunate enough to see any of my pods, but there's this, the big set piece moment in the film is the bank robbery, and Robert De Niro's crew meet up before the bank robbery in a diner. Meet up in a wee diner. And basically Danny Trejo, the actor playing a character called Trejo, he phones in sick. And they're like, all right, that's fine. If you can't make it, you can't make it, mate. That's one of the flaws, I think, with the film, even though I love it so much. So what they do is they recognise that there's a guy on the grill, basically the guy working behind the counter, the guy who's making their burgers and all that first thing in the morning in this diner. Folsom, D Block, house with Dobie Rush. So they got up and they say to him, can you work scanners and radio? You want to be a getaway driver? All right, we'll meet you back in 5 then, mate. And of course, Trejo is actually being tortured, held hostage. His wife's been held hostage. They're being tortured, so they'll tell these guys where the bank robbery is going to be, and they'll grass them up to the police. So the police are waiting for Robert De Niro / Neil McCauley's crew when they come out the bank, and it all goes tits up. And I was thinking, is this, we've got Dessers. Dessers, that's his third goal in 3 games. It's scored the last 3 games tonight. Colin, Craig, Ross, fantastic pod for Gersnet and Sunday night. They were discussing how Dessers is kind of, he's no first choice perhaps, but we kind of write him off the way we originally thought. I think the whole Rangers supporters coming round, the minute he went into double figures for the season, 10th goal against Dumbarton on Saturday, everybody started thinking, yeah, well, that's actually not a bad return considering the amount of times he's been off the bench or injured or whatever. And I think Colin in particular just mentioned a certain Ali McCoist who in certain games would miss a hell of a lot of chances, but make sure he would get the 1 or 2 goals that really counted in the game as well. We're starting to realise you've got to miss them to score them. I think it's an attitude with a lot of Rangers supporters. Everything's got to be perfect. It'd be almost better if you didn't have a single shot on goal, rather than having 5 shots on goal and scoring 1 but missing the 4. That kind of thing. You don't want to see anything going wrong at all. And Desser's certainly, it is frustrating watching a striker missing chances. Of course it is. But I think people are coming around to the fact that he's got a good goal return. He's a good player. So I think I could have seen, should we have had Silva on the left-hand side, where, I remember it was the Rangers Review I heard saying that they'd played on the left-hand side of a 4-3-3 in the front three, where he was at PSV Eindhoven on loan. And we would have had Dessers, who's becoming a bit of a proven goal scorer for Rangers, going through the middle. Was this going to be, at the moment, to have Silva playing through the middle in his first competitive start for Rangers? Was that going to be the, taking the grill man from to be a getaway driver moment? But no, we made bank. It was fine. Rangers robbed the bank absolutely perfectly tonight. No one was hurt. I certainly hope so anyway. And it was fantastic. We ended up playing really well. And I think the one thing I haven't mentioned about Philippe Clement is his friendlies. You don't want to talk about his record in friendlies, because it was the 2 we played 8 days ago. We had Copenhagen at Ibrox, a 2-week draw, and then the Saturday before that we had a kind of risible 1-0 loss, pretty much a training session to second-tier German side Hertha Berlin in La Manga. But even now you can contrast those games with Michael Beale's pre-season friendlies, when he was playing second-tier German teams, beating Hamburg just at Ibrox and then getting tanked by Olympiacos at Ibrox, and you're thinking, I don't see any signs of the players being fitter or sharper, of the squad having been improved. It's just friendlies. But we're expecting so much more. We're expecting some signs that Michael Beale's first pre-season was going to make this massive difference. It really hasn't. We look like we've gone backwards. With Clement, you can see what he's done. I think the last, if you include the Dumbarton game in the Scottish Cup, which will be seen as a kind of semi-training session as well, the 2 friendlies in that, he's been playing Silva, McCausland, Cantwell, Matondo, like 3 of that 4 in all these games. And then tonight you have a situation where Dessers comes in as the kind of second choice striker, and I think he sees Silva as the same way as Danilo. There was so many parallels tonight with that game at Dens Park. We beat Dundee 5-0. The Rangers were in the psychedelic Aldershot Town away kit. There's so much smoke on the park, because not as many flares as were set off that night at Dens Park, but a hell of a lot of flares up the top tier of the away end at Easter Road tonight, fogging the pitch as well. And also Silva, first time I'm really getting a look at him properly, his first competitive start for Rangers. I didn't see any of the friendlies in any great detail, just saw highlights, and he looked electric. Obviously still rusty, still got a lot to got to gel with his teammates properly, still got to get the game time, but my God, some of the pace of him, the sharpness of him, the skill factor, it was all there, and it was reminding me very much of Danilo, kind of back to action. I think it was his first start, was it not at Dens Park that night? I kind of, again, he was a bit rusty that night as well. And then Dessers, once Silva / Danilo has softened them up for a good hour or so, Dessers comes on and finishes them off with the coup de grace. Absolutely fantastic. I think that the manager, of course, has nailed it absolutely perfectly tonight. Cantwell and Silva, I thought, combined really well at times. They seem to understand each other's game. They seem to be in that same kind of level of real confidence in their skill, thinking they are a class above in the best possible way. It was actually, I think, Matondo perhaps getting caught out, McCausland maybe not getting into the game as often as we'd want, rather than Silva looking like little boy lost because this was his first start. He wasn't hanging about at all. The game wasn't hanging about at all. It was pretty. We took centre. Todd Cantwell put it straight out from kickoff. Couldn't see who he was trying to pass to, because it was just a sea of smoke. But yet somehow we managed to win a corner within 47 seconds of kickoff, and that was all down to Silva sucking down a ball from the air with his toe. I don't know how he did it, a big long ball from John Souttar. But then by 1 minute 30 seconds, number one, Mr. Jack Butland has made an absolutely cracking save at his near post, and it's a corner to Hibs, and I'm thinking this is going to be end to end. I don't like the look of this. It's going to be a humdinger. 2 out of the last 3 seasons, our first visit to Easter Road has ended in a 2-each draw. Is it going to be that kind of game again? Are we going to chuck it back in Celtic's favour straight away? But no, that was it. That was a lot from Hibs. Pretty soon we had Matondo go down the left hand side, taking his man at the cleaners, pulling the ball back, and there was Silva getting. It looked like he was kind of trying to flick it with his back foot, just past the near post. Pretty electric. There was a chance for. Was it Matondo at the back post? It was just too quick for him. He didn't seem to be on his toes properly. It was a flick on from Balogun, very reminiscent of the move we had against Dumbarton that led to the first goal at Dumbarton. But looked like we got the flick on. It was John Shooter going to that kind of front post area, flicking it to the back post. But we weren't ready for the flick on this time. And then Tav had a corner straight after that, which he whipped in to the back post, and nobody was there. But we started really kind of pressuring Hibs, and just as I was starting to think, they got to a point I was just starting to think, yeah, this is getting a bit reminiscent of when we'd go to Easter Road under Gerrard a couple of times. We had that midfield in the 4-3-3, the midfield of Davis, Kamara, and oh my God, who else? Davis, Kamara, and Ryan Jack. And then the front three was, at the top of their game, Aribo, Morelos, and Ryan Kent. And Hibs couldn't get out of their box at times. They just pinned them in. We just kept pinging the ball back into the box, and these guys were running all around them. And you see them start getting dizzy. They start losing their bearings. And we're just getting to that point tonight. We're just starting to run them a wee bit ragged when Hibs started having little moments. Leon Balogun, quite an interesting start to the game for Leon Balogun. He's winning everything, but his distribution wasn't at its best, and the ball seemed to be attracted to his arms, his hands all the time, just really near the ball. A kind of VAR moment, I think it was potentially he was going to be giving away a penalty or something like that, but the big man come through and had a fantastic game generally. Him and Soot are doing really well for a partnership that's no used to playing together. I thought were fantastic. And then the half-hour mark, I don't know about you, but I get it's kind of a little mental thumbnail. See all the games you watch. If you're right into your football, you love your team, be it Rangers, Scotland, whoever it is. You'll have this kind of, it's like a filing cabinet in your head, and it's not a very well organised filing cabinet, but it's like tabs on folders. Somebody mentions a game to you, and you'll get one kind of flashing image that will come to you about that game. And it's not an accurate image, usually it doesn't bear any kind of, if you look up the actual incident in the game that it comes to mind, you see it on YouTube, it'll look nothing like the way you remember it. But if somebody says to me, like for example, see the 2002 Scottish Cup final, Barry Ferguson scores a wonderful free kick, you get Lovencrantz last minute. When I was at the game, it was fantastic. But the bit I'll always remember, every time somebody mentions that to me, my first kind of instinctive memory is watching Neil Lennon for about 5 seconds. But it was 2 each, and I could see he was knackered, and I watched them just kind of trudging about the park like they're more tired than us. We're going to win this game. Like, I mean, I wasn't daring to think anything that positive, me being me at the time, but that was the information being relayed to me. And that's the image that always comes to my mind. All the images I could get for that game, it's Neil bloody Lennon that I think about in that game. That was a real hope for me that day. And I think tonight, see if I'm going to have one image of this game tonight, it's going to be John Lundstram. And of course, it's not going to be accurate. There's going to be a sea of empty green plastic seats all around the stadium behind them, and like it's those little floaters you get in your eye. That'll be the players. You can't really see them, but they're on the periphery. It'll just be as if John Lundstram's got the whole pitch to himself. It was as if the manager just said to him, Clement must have said to Lundstram tonight, John, just see tonight, just be where others aren't. Just be in space all the time and just have the ball all the time. He was absolutely magnificent. And it wasn't like, I think they're supposed to say things like he strode like a colossus across the pitch. I mean, it wasn't like a colossus. It wasn't like Arnie in Terminator or Bruce Willis in the Die Hard movies. It was more like kind of Gary Oldman in the Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy movie, the Alfredson adaptation, or maybe even Alec Guinness in the BBC adaptation, or the Le Carré classic spy novel. You don't know what I'm talking about, but just that kind of understated yet absolutely owning it, absolutely ruling it, just by being cleverer, by doing nothing OTT, no hysterics, but just always being where he had to be and sussing everything out and just using it all. This is like the strip he's wearing tonight. That's the same strip the same John Lundstrom was wearing against another team in green and white away from home. But remember, he got his arse handed to him by Aris Limassol, winger. Just couldn't get there for one of the goals they scored against us in the defeat that night. What a man transformed under Philippe Clement. I know there's a bit of cynicism attached to this. People think it's because of he's got his contract needing renewed pretty soon. But no, I think it's just it's the manager who's done this, and also he's getting a good run, getting a great run in the team. John Lundstrom, he was sublime tonight, and I don't know what it is. What is it he does in the 30th minute? What is that? That little scooped, dinked pass right onto the left peg of the on-rushing, the overlapping, the underlapping Ridvan Yilmaz, an absolutely sublime ball. It's like he said to him, do you want the valve, Ridvan? I know that the valve on the ball can be quite annoying if you get it in your instep. Do you want me to put that to the outside? Where exactly do you want it? It was like a sand wedge. I'm not a golfer. An iron sand, it's a sand wedge. The thing that you used to chip out of the bunker, except he's chipping out the bunker and into the sunroof of a kind of 40 mile an hour passing Mini, and he's dropping the ball into a cup holder, and the accuracy was absolutely phenomenal. Done on the run, done with such nonchalance almost. And Yilmaz is annoying the hell out of me, not just because, like, on Friday night, for example, in the preview pod for the Barton game, I was saying to Brian, I think Yilmaz, I don't like to get involved in the transfer tittle-tattle. I filter it all out into the point where if there's anything that's still stuck in there, I'll think that must be news. There must be something to that. And what I was saying was Ridvan Yilmaz, there's so much chat about him, he must be on his way. And now I'm just hoping like hell he stays because he's been absolutely phenomenal. And the other annoying thing about him is, same as the Kilmarnock game where he ended up being man of the match just before Christmas and New Year, just before we stopped, after Christmas and New Year, just before we stopped for the winter break. I think he made a bad pass straight to a Kilmarnock player, deep in his own half in the first 5 minutes of the game, and I'm like, he does that all the time, and he had been doing it all the time because he's just coming back from long-term injury and just starting to get a run in the team again. And he went on to be man of the match. Same thing tonight. He looked like Yuan. He's never lacking in confidence, Yilmaz, but he looked a bit lost at times. It looked like Yuan, first 2 or 3 minutes on Hibs' right-hand side, was going to give him a hard time, and he just goes on to have an absolutely phenomenal match, young Ridvan. So I hope he is staying, looking like he could end up being the first choice left back for us, despite whatever Borna's injury situation is. But John Lundstrom just put that ball right on a plate for him, smacks it. Does the young Turk right into the bottom left-hand corner as we're looking at it. David Marshall in the Hibs goal, absolutely no chance. Fantastic. Hibs look as if they're going to come back at us. Then they had a free kick, I think was it 37 minutes or something like that. I'm watching this on Hibs TV. I don't know what the VPN stuff. I don't know if that is it still illegal, or does the VPN thing mean that you're actually coming from outside technically it is from outside the UK. Like you can watch Rangers TV on it. I don't know how it all works. Anyway, I just end up being a big coward and I gave Hibs $12.99, despite the fact I don't like them. So that's the sacrifices you make. They get this free kick on the right-hand side, which, quite worryingly, it was a bit like the free kick that we conceded the goal to Dumbarton with on Saturday. The back four looking really flat, all on a line, and the big fella misses the header. He really should have put it. It wasn't a free header, but almost, and he puts it past the far post. But the free kick was just a total dive. Even Stevie Lovell on doing the Hibs TV punditry, just saying that was a total dive. I don't know what's happened there. So if that goes in, can the referee then look at it in VAR for the original offence for the free kick? I don't think so. So that's maybe the protocols have got to be looked at there. VAR should be ever improving, of course. Next big incident, 43 minutes, Todd Cantwell just kind of trying to jockey the ball out of play, I think, towards the technical areas, the Hibs technical area in particular, and just as the ball's about to go to play, he kind of pulls up, he's kind of shielding the ball from 2 incoming Hibs players. He just pulls up as if he's taking a wee thigh strain, and the 2 Hibs players duly clatter him, brutalise him, send him flying into the Hibs technical area at such a velocity that he takes the Hibs manager, Nick Montgomery, completely out of the game, sends him spinning, and Montgomery gets up and starts kind of standing over him, growling, and the way it was pretty cowardly stuff. 2 guys going into his back, and there's very much, you could almost hear the kind of TikTok Todd, he's getting it kind of attitude, but just like throwing a pretty woman out of your very posh Rodeo Drive ladies' clothes shop, mistake, big mistake, huge. Young Ross McCausland on the right-hand side being a kind of worldly wise, benevolent hotel manager in the way he slipped the ball inside. Nice wee ball into Todd Cantwell. I get 25 yards from goal. Todd takes it, turns, gets about 20 yards from goal, and like Richard Gere getting the credit card out in that film, just wham, bam, smacks right hand side of the goal. That's right footed shot into the bottom right as we're looking at it. That's Marshall being beaten at both of his near posts. An absolute crack. This was a belter. This was like a beezer, a stonker, a stormer. This was an absolute Ram Peasler, as my dad would say. An absolutely tremendous shot. Proper Presbyterian. Just going to have it. Just hit the thing. Absolutely fantastic. But I think a tremendous goal when it's Todd just turns around and of course he does the old Alan Partridge, day to day bit, and another one by slapping the ball back into the net. It gets it right up the Hibs fans in the subtlest way possible with the old hands over the ears and what have you. Just really enjoying his revenge, rising above the brutality of the Hibs play with a bit of sumptuous skill, and that's his second goal in a row at Easter Road. He also scored against Kilmarnock, just before the winter break. So Todd, all these players, like Matondo scored against Copenhagen, Ross McCausland scored against Kilmarnock. They're getting the goals. They need Silva to get in the goal trail, and that'll be us absolutely cooking with gas in that front four. But I think that goal, as I say, it was an absolute belter. Whereas the moment for the first goal was the pass, the assist from John Lundstrom, and the third goal, same thing from Dessers. You need antique roadshow language to describe it. The goal for we'll start with half time. Anyway, that's us at half time. We're 2-0 up. Come out in the second half, and we are missing Cantwell and Raskin. They've been replaced by Lawrence and Sterling, Tom Lawrence and Dujon Sterling, respectively. And great to see the two of them back and playing. Sterling fantastic against Celtic at Parkhead and looked like a real player, and of course starts getting wee injury problems. So great to see them back. But I don't know what the manager said in his post-match press. Just a precaution. Hopefully we Cantwell and Raskin just try to get him back slowly into first team action. He did well in the first half, pushing forward quite a lot, but no, it was hard to look good next to Lundstrom, mind you. He was just absolutely dominating the whole pitch, to be quite honest. And I'm hoping that Rangers are going to put it to bed at this point. Still a bit nervous because, as I say, we'd drawn 2-2 in our first visit to Easter Road in 2 of the last 3 seasons. But straight away, Hibs are up the park straight for kick-off. You're thinking, have we thought we've got this game in the bag? We can't afford to be slipping up here. This could be the kind of disaster that we had at Pittodrie a few seasons ago, where we're 2-0 up and cruising seemingly, and then we end up chucking it. And then 52 minutes, I think Matondo went through. He did that thing where he wriggled across the whole kind of box in front of all the Hibs defenders, and then he smacked it into the side net. And I'm just waiting. That third goal was getting a bit kind of frustrating. Going to get that, going to put the game to bed. 52nd minute, Hibs broke on us. Lovely ball up down our left hand side. They got in behind us, hit the byline. Guy pulls it back. I don't know the name of the Hibs players, to be honest with you. The fella's just walking onto it. It's just a straightforward shot into the corner. Super Jack Butland in goals. He absolutely loved it. Point blank save. I missed it. I never saw it at all. That's the great thing about Hibs TV. The only time it went in the blink all night, I switched it back on. By the time I got it back on, they were like, "Oh, that was a great save by Butland." So I didn't even have to go through we had the ball in the Hibs box, I think, at the time it went on the blink. So I didn't even have to get worried. I just saw that was a fucking great save by Jack Butland, and I was pretty relieved. We started making the substitutions. Right, come on for McCausland, 70 minutes, and then Dessers comes on for Silva in the 72nd minute, and his finish just kills the game. At this point, we're pressuring Hibs, and you can see here we're fitter, we're more organised, we've got a better depth of squad, we're more tactically aware. You can see what the improvements that the manager has made to us, and how we're just a different level altogether from Hibs. It's getting to the point they can't get the ball out of their box, and eventually, under pressure, a bad pass back to Marshall, who's not really ready for it, and he only clears it maybe 30 yards up the park, almost straight to Rabbi Matondo, who takes it forward and then just slips in a ball to Dessers, who's just on the park, and he walks the ball into the back of the net. It's really difficult to describe. It's like Dessers knows that what he lacks in pace, he can make up for in precision. It's a shortage of speed is compensated for by an abundance of kind of deliberation, cool, and accuracy. He's like Clint. He's real gunslinger stuff. He's like Clint Eastwood in the Unforgiven? That scene in the bar where he goes in and like the whole bar has got guns and they're all trying to shoot him, but they're all panicking so much, and he's just taking his time and just shooting one guy at a time. He's killing all of them and they can't hit him. It's the same thing. He did exactly the same thing against exactly the same team the last time we played Hibs Dessers. I think it was the fourth goal of that game at Ibrox in Clement's managerial debut. It's it was a reverse ball, I think, by Todd Cantwell in that game, and Dessers just on the penalty spot. Suddenly he's on the penalty spot. He's got everybody in front of him, but everybody's going the wrong way, and he just rolls the ball into the net, and it's like a slow version of what Mark Hateley did to Gary Gillespie. This one was even more. There's 4 or 5 Hibs players all trying to get the ball all round about him, including the goalkeeper, and he somehow managed to send all of them the wrong way because he's just so ice cool. It's like the kind of open play version of a 2-step penalty. You're watching it thinking, you need to do it quicker. No, he doesn't. He really doesn't. Finlay, I felt like, got in touch with me on Twitter tonight. What did he say? It was a bedroom slippers type finish. It's like I was describing it, it's like a shove shot in snooker. It just cushions the ball into the net. And I say it's like a kind of 2-step penalty, or a 1-step penalty. Remember, guys my age, remember Beppe Signori when he played for Lazio. He used to watch Lazio and Gazzetta Football Italia, Channel 4 Football Italia. He would just do the 1-step penalty. I thought, how do you do that? And Guy Skimmy and Jetta, fellas my age, people my age, definitely know. Rangers fans my age, we still talk about that Valencia team, Hector Cooper's Valencia team, who beat us in the Champions League under Advocat. Hector Cooper. I mean, Jetta would do that thing. He wouldn't even look at the ball. He would be watching the goalkeeper while taking the 1 step to take the penalty. You think, how could he do that? I feel more comfortable just seeing a guy running up and blasting the thing. How the hell was this guy putting the ball in the back of the net with no propulsion? It was all accuracy, and yet that's the thing. That team got to the Champions League. That Valencia team. That's Hector Cooper's Valencia. Hector Cooper was the manager of Mallorca when they lost the 1999 Cup Winners' Cup final. Then he was manager of Valencia when they lost the Champions League final in 2000, 2001. 3 straight European finals. A massive success, but losing them all just gives that little kind of hint of failure, which is totally unfair. Arsene Wenger did that. He lost all 3 of the European finals, the Cup Winners' Cup with Monaco, and obviously the Champions League and the UEFA Cup final with Arsenal. And it's an achievement, but it's also a failure. Kind of thing. That was the 3 European finals. The Cup Winners' Cup no longer on the go, kind of replaced indirectly by the Conference League. And when we were losing the UEFA Cup final, the very first Conference League final, the same season, we were losing the Europa League final in Seville. It was a certain Cyril Dessers was on the losing side for Feyenoord that night. You don't lose what you've learned at that level of football. He might have lost his pace, Cyril Dessers, but he's certainly not lost his cool. And that was an absolutely sumptuous finish. Like, educated, exquisite, delightful. It was it's antiques roadshow adjectives you need to describe that goal, as well as the assist from John Lundstrom for our first goal tonight. We had the ball in the back of the net again. I think it was about 85th minute, but this time Ryan Jack was on. Lovely ball from Ryan to Tom Lawrence, who had scored at Easter Road previously. He walked it into the back of the net, just offside. VAR drew the lines, and I don't really know what else to say, folks. It was just, I just want to keep talking about it because it was so good. But there's a belief about us now. I just feel as if, right, I'm going to this. What the hell, might as well. I always think about James IV. You know, James IV of Scotland. He was the last British monarch to die in battle. I mean, he wasn't the monarch of Britain. It was 90 years before the Uniting of the Crowns, the Union of the Crowns. But Flodden, he was the guy that died at Flodden, and he was responsible. He was part of King James and all. He was a rebel. He was a rebel when he was before he was king. When he was it Duke of Rothesay, Earl of Rothesay. I don't know these titles. My history's not very good, but he helped his dad. James III. He wasn't a very good king, so there's a bit of rebellion against him, and he got killed. And James IV hadn't known his dad was going to get killed. He didn't really know about that, so he felt guilty about it for his whole life. That made him king, but no, he had to kill his father, or part of his father getting killed. So his penance, ongoing penance for the rest of his life, he would wear this belt. I don't know if it's chainmail or kind of metal anyway, against his body, or under his clothes. He would wear it against his body, and he would make it heavier every year. Now, Flawed and the Scottish Army lost because they charged down a hill into a quagmire at the bottom of the hill to fight hand to hand with the English. There's lots of other reasons for them losing that battle. But I always can't help thinking, was he wearing, somebody will know, this is just something I've not bothered checking up on, was he wearing this belt thing? You know, it's making him heavier, and he's walked into a quagmire. And I'm just imagining him just like sinking, and it probably got to the point where he could have sunk down enough that he would have got away with it, but the English are just going, this guy's sinking, let's just get hammered into him. What's happening? And I think that always makes me, I think about that when I think about Rangers, and we had this attitude for years, especially when we come back into top flight. It was almost kind of apologetic. It was or just scared. I don't know what it was. People have talked about this, and I am for giving respect to opponents, but we'd got to the point where it was almost like, oh no, sorry, you're Aberdeen, your stadium only holds 20,000. Our stadium holds 50,000, and we've got more wages than you and better players than that we're expected. And when they come out and they get ripped into us, it'd be kind of like, oh right, okay, yous are angry, and we'd end up dropping points and stuff like that. There was a kind of timidity about us sometimes, like we felt a guilt. About God knows what, about being too big. It's like sometimes we would play like, it's like sometimes you play 5-a-sides and somebody doesn't turn up. One person doesn't turn up, so one side plays with 4 players, other side plays with 5. And the guys, I don't know how many times the team with 5 players were getting beat after the team with 4 because the team with 5 players felt like they were cheating, felt like fraud. It felt like, we're too powerful. We need to hold back. It's not very sporting. I think maybe Rangers have got to the point, and we've certainly got a manager now who knows that everybody else in Scotland just absolutely despises us. They hate us. Anybody who can do us damage is trying their damnedest all the time to do us damage. Don't moan about how they only try against us and all this kind of stuff. Just go out there and get them pasted. Get rid of that belt that's weighing you down, psychological. I'm trying to talk in metaphors and all that kind of thing. It's been that kind of night, sorry. I'm getting carried away myself. But we seem to be getting rid of that under Philippe Clement. It's just go out there and give it absolutely everything. Have no fear, have no regrets. And I'm definitely got no regrets about that game tonight. Although I have got some of my patter, but I think this delighted rapper is going to wrap this one up. Enjoy your Burns night, folks, by the way. Great chieftain of the Pudding Race is going to hand you over to on Friday night. It's John and Scott. They'll be doing a much better review of this game at Easter Road, as well as looking ahead to our trip to Paisley. And inevitably there'll be some sort of transfer news, or definitely speculation anyway, and almost certainly more injuries to be discussed. We've got a whole 48 hours before that pod, so there'll be hundreds of stuff happening that you need to discuss. But in the meantime, just enjoy your night trips and enjoy Rangers right back into it, looking good for the title.